Hello, my friend, and welcome back to yet another CrossYoga class. And it's going to be a flow class today. So I've just been in Malaga on a retreat, and there I was hiking a little bit with some of the participants. I was walking on wide path, hikes, roads where you can see a lot, and I was also walking more like narrow, small path, hikes, stuff where you can really go off-road and see the beautiful nature. And all of these roads, narrow and wide, Jesus also talks about roads and trekking and walking along a life, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. Take your seat if you haven't already, and let's breathe a little bit. And maybe there's things that you want to let go of. Maybe you turned play on this this video because you had a lot of mind chatter and you wanted to do something, and this video just popped up. So maybe you want to let go. So if you close your eyes and inhale deeply and sigh out. Letting go all that is filling your mind, worries, anxious thoughts, or whatever it is. Right now you are entering into a state of a pause, a state of where you want to go on a different path than the path of worry, of mind chatter. It's a path of rest, movement, feeling into your body. And just notice in if you are a little bit stressed out, maybe you feel like your body is shaking a little bit, or just, not at ease. So to notice that, try to breathe slower. Try to relax your shoulders, your face. Feel the belly move with your breath. Your chest lifts as you inhale. And as you sit there and breathe, I'll read this short passage from the NIV version, Matthew 7:13. And this is Jesus saying, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." And I'll read it again and try to listen with it, with your context, with your life, as kind of the lenses that you listen to these verses through. And just let it speak to whatever. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. So maybe in your life, maybe worry is the easy path to take, the one that comes the most light and just enters into your mind. And letting go of worry, letting go of all the anxious thoughts or stress is the more narrow road, the one that you have to choose, the one that doesn't just show up automatically. Do some free seated moves on the mat. Making sure that you get your spine into some sort of movement. Your shoulders. And also your wrists, in whatever ways that's an option for you. Now, Ujjayi breath, don't be afraid of the word. It's just a breath technique where you inhale and exhale through your nose. And then you have that snoring kind of exhale going on. If you want to get that going in your flow class today, you can do that. I'll do it a little bit, so if you can hear it, it's just that that I'm doing. And then you can make your way into tabletop and know that tabletop can always be the place to go if your down dog is not your thing today. And then you can make it to down dog, spread out your fingers, let the middle finger reach the top end of the mat, knees get off, and really getting into your legs now. Just be a little bit creative here on the mat in your down dog. Feel how the muscles can turn on in your shoulders, the back of your legs, everywhere. Then walk your feet to the top of the mat and fold forward with some distance in between your feet. Find chair pose and bending your legs. Reach your arms forward and sitting as low as you like. Then take your hands down by your side as you raise up into mountain pose. Shoulders back like a back bending mountain pose. Open up your chest. And find chair pose again. Sweep the arms forward, sit down. And from here into forward fold. Now bend and stretch your legs a little bit here. If you can't find the floor, if your knees are completely bended in order to find the floor, blocks is a great thing to use underneath your hands. But try to bend and stretch to get the hamstrings working. Firing up. You know, our nerves are also those small pathways into our body, right? But I'm not sure that was what Jesus intended there. But anyway, step the right leg back. Lower down right knee. Low lunge. Reach your arms up. Move your hip forward. Shoulders down. Then lean back, stretching the front leg somewhat. Runner's stretch. We're going to lean over this front leg as much as we need to. And then again, bend the front leg. Tuck the back toe under. Look forward. Arms off the floor. If you can hold the balance, slowly lift the knee off and find your high lunge. Reach the arms up overhead. Leaning forward, take your cactus arms with you. So bending the elbows 90 degrees, squeezing the shoulder blades back and together. Back heel is lifted off. And then fold forward, finding plank. Maybe on your knees, coming down to low lunge, elbow, so low plank. Cobra or up dog, lifting through your hands. Tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. And keep the Ujjayi breath going. Now, actually, I would like you to stand as wide in your down dog as, or not as you can, but most people tend to do down dog a little bit narrow because then it's easy to get the heels down. But I'd rather have you take your feet a little bit further back so you feel that stretch without reaching. For now, I'm not really reaching my heels completely down, but it's giving me quite a great stretch in the calves. Now walk to the top end of the mat and fold forward again. Chair pose, reach arms up. Gonna do exactly this sequence just on the other side. So mountain pose, elbows down, thumbs turning around, moving back, shoulders squeezed, open up your chest. Chair pose again, straighten your spine, butt lean forward, and then fold forward. We're not gonna stretch and bend the legs here though. Left leg shooted up and to the back, toes and knees down, low lunge, arms reach up overhead. And really find that stretch in the hip flexors on your right or your left side, the one that's where the leg is back. Run and stretch, move your hip back, leaning forward. I have my toes pointing up. And then walk your hands again to the top of the mat. If the toes are not tucked under, try to do that. And to get a little bit more of a challenge, hands off. And see if you can slowly lift the back knee off. Reach your arms up overhead. And breathe. Leaning slightly forward, cactus arms, core in. You feel it at the back of your shoulders. And then we have that vinyasa, so hands down, step the feet back, plank pose. Maybe you take the shoulders in front of your fingers, lowering down slowly. Cobra or up dog where the hip is off. Downward facing dog. And you can always adjust your stance here. And sigh out. Let's repeat this one, adding on an extra posture. Come to the top of the mat, jumping or walking, folding forward. Chair pose, you might inhale. And as you do a big exhale, mountain pose, squeeze the shoulders back. Inhaling, chair. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, right leg up. Exhaling, lowering down toes and knees. Inhaling, low lunge. And maybe lift or you move your hip further to the front as you exhale. Move the hip back, round a stretch, inhaling. Leaning forward, exhale. Inhaling to the front, hands off. Exhale, slowly lift up to get that engagement in the thighs. Leaning slowly forward as you inhale. And exhale, really getting into this cactus arms thing. Finding plank, inhale. Exhale, lower down. Cobra or up dog, inhale. And down dog. One breath. And then we want to bring one more posture in. So take your right leg up and back. Open up your hip by bending the knee. Draw the heel into the buttocks. Really keep breathing deeply. And then slowly come into plank. Keep the knee elevated and slowly take this right leg, lift it up to the top end of the mat on the outer edge of your ribs there and lowering down. Warrior two. So turn the back foot around and make your way into warrior two. Windmill the arms around, step to the front, fold forward, exhale. Continuing left side. Inhale, chair. Exhale, mountain, shoulders back. Chair, inhale. Fold forward, exhale. Half lift, left leg, inhale. Lowering down the toes, exhale. Knee down, reach the arms up overhead And maybe on your exhale, you move your hip further for that bit of a stretch. Run the stretch. Moving back, exhaling, folding down. Move to the front again, tuck the toes, back toes under, hands off, slowly engage the thigh, engage the back leg, reach up. And you might sigh up as you get to the top. Leaning forward, cactus arms, shoulders squeezed. Finding your plank, maybe as you inhale. Then it all works together with exhaling as you lower down. Cobra up dog, downward facing dog. One breath. You're going to get your core and your glutes involved. Left leg, lift it up, open up your hip. And then move yourself into plank with this left leg still elevated, but move the leg in bended variation to the top of the mat. Eventually, let the foot drop down. Ooh. Turn the back foot around, warrior two. Lots of length from arm to arm. Windmill the arms around, back heel off, step to the top of the mat. Fold forward. One more time, finding chair. Sitting low if you want to. Mountain pose. Chair again. Fold forward. Right leg up. Lower down toes and knees. Or just knee. Low lunge. Run a stretch, slowly coming back, not too fast. Maybe following your breath, exhaling down. Again, make it to the top of the mat, tuck the toes under, hands off, slowly come into high lunge. Leaning forward, really strongly lift in the back, the arch of the foot, the back foot. Maybe you feel it. Plank, Vinyasa, low plank. Cobra, up dog. Down dog. Continuing, right leg up. Bending the knee, open up your hip, staying strong with the shoulders down. So stay with your hands and shoulders as in your downward facing dog. And then really engaging everything, core. Slowly reach the bended right leg to the front. And eventually the foot just want to drop down. Warrior two. So find it. And keep the length from fingertip to fingertip. Stretch the front leg, take your arms up, behind your head, elbows reach out, tucking the shoulders over the hip, and then lean in back with a strong core, maybe looking up, avoiding the elbows' tendency to drop in over the head. And then leaning forward, gonna find some sort of balance. So I take my hands down, back heel off. Warrior three, or at least the versions of it. Toes are pointing down, hands forward, thumbs pointing up. Strong breath. And then wrapping it into our eagle pose. So the left leg that you had behind you is going to be wrapped around once or twice. Left elbow underneath, finding that eagle stance. Remember, perfection is not what you're asked to achieve here on the mat. Letting go, mountain pose. One last time. Inhale, chair. Exhaled, mountain, squeeze shoulders back. Chair again, inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Left leg, reach up and back. Toe and knee down. Low lunge, take your time. Sometimes taking our time as you move into run a stretch is also the narrow road, right? Sometimes it's easier to do everything fast, but let's slow down. Hands off, knees off, reach up, high lunge. Leaning forward, elbows back, cactus arms, and then your vinyasa. Let's do it. Left leg up, open up your hip, bend the knee. And let's move it to the front. Woo! Keep it lifted as you, come down. Back toe turned around, warrior two. Smaller or wider distance in between your legs, that's completely up to you. Let's extend the front leg, take your hands behind you again, elbows out. Keep everything aligned with the feet. Leaning back, strong core. Maybe looking up. And then coming forward again, both hands down. Back heel off, right leg up this time. Warrior three, take your time. Stretch both legs, hips are closed. So the leg behind you is not lifted more than the floor. Keep the Ujjayi breath going. One more breath. Keep it strong as you try to hold balance. Eagle pose, right leg tucked around once or twice. So right elbow underneath. Again, just a little bit of grasping the palms or go for the full thing. Release. And find mountain pose. Shake it out. Just a few stretches. And as you close your eyes and shake things out in mountain pose, I'll read this passage again, this time from Message version. I like the differences in the wording of it. It says, don't look for shortcuts to God. The market is flooded with surefire, easygoing formulas for a successful life that can be practiced in your spare time. Don't fall for that stuff, even though crowds of people do. The way to life, to God, is vigorous and requires total attention. Take the left leg and step it back. And find a wide stance and take your head down. I like the toes pointing slightly in and a little bit of my weight on the front of the feet. Are you the one that always follow the broad road with the crowds? Or do you actually have the courage to take the narrow road? Lift your head up and then you can walk your hands to the top of the mat again, step back. And you can find child's pose with a bit of distance in between your hands. And bring your hands really to the front. You might have your head down. I'm going to do that. Or the forehead down just a sec. Now, either the hands really to the front, even crossed if your shoulders are pretty flexible. We all follow the crowds on some things in our lives, but do we do it on the really important things? Do we do it in our faith life? Do we dare to share our stories about faith? Or do we hold it back because we know that that's not a crowd pleaser, or we think it's not? Take your hands a little bit more abroad and then find your pigeon pose. Right leg to the front, and maybe you have the shin aligned with the short end of the mat. Maybe you bend the knee more. Scooch the back leg or the back knee further down. Stay on your hands, or maybe coming down on your elbows. Now, if you have knee issues, you might not want to rest here. You might want to do the reversed version here instead. Whatever you do, try to relax into it. Now, as I was hiking this past few weeks, it was most often the narrow path, the narrow kind of small hike roads that you could do that led to the most beautiful, exquisite view, right, over the mountains and everything. And if I only take the broad road, I would have missed that. But sometimes it takes courage, as the message version says. It takes full attention to get that. But it's worth it. Come up on your hands, gonna shift or do the other side. If you're laying down on your back, you can just do the other leg on your back. But left leg to the front. So maybe your prayer here is that you'll have the courage, together with me, to take the narrow path, to be aware, not just to be the crowd pleaser, but be the one that actually steps out for truth or justice or faith. Let's not go blindly just because other people are doing it. All right. You might come down on your left sitting bone and reach your legs to the top of the mat. And coming all the way down your back. Keep your legs bended, drop them in, and you can do your windshield wiper. Maybe take the feet a little bit further away from the hip to do this. Welcome to stay in just one spot. And you can stay with your knees bent and maybe put your hands on your heart, your chest. And maybe pray for courage to be the one that follows the path of love, of righteousness, of truth speaking. And maybe you pray with me, so help us, God, to avoid taking the easy road just because it felt more comfortable. Help us not to be afraid of pain. Help us not to be afraid of missing out. Help us to know that if we follow a narrow path, we are going to end up in the most beautiful exquisite place close to you, God. And then you can take your hands down by your side, stretch out your legs, and find a bit of rest. Palms are facing up, so the pinky finger is in towards your thigh. And maybe you meditate on the faith that Jesus did not take the popular road. He did not go for the public opinion that he should be king and ruler to throw out the Roman Empire. He chose the narrow road, the road that led him to the cross, but also the road that led him to resurrection and victory in the end. But it was not the easy road. I'll finish our class today staying here on the mat, so you're welcome to stay. I'll just pray a blessing upon your life. May God's peace and righteousness live in your heart. Amen. And thank you.